The old apartment building loomed before me, its weathered brick facade a silent sentinel against the darkening sky. I clutched my suitcase tighter, a mix of excitement and trepidation churning in my gut. New city, new job, new roommate. A fresh start, I told myself, trying to quell the nagging sense of unease that had been dogging me since Aidi agreed to this arrangement. The elevator creaked and groaned as it carried me to the 5th floor. The hallway stretched before me, flickering fluorescent lights casting eerie shadows on the faded wallpaper. Apartment 5B, my new home. I took a deep breath and knocked. The door swung open, revealing a young woman with a bright smile and eyes that didn't quite match it. "You must be Sarah," she said, her voice oddly flat. "I'm Emma. Welcome home." I stepped inside, the air suddenly thick and oppressive. Emma's smile never wavered as she showed me around the small apartment, but something about her movements seemed off, too fluid, too precise, like a marionette controlled by unseen strings. That first night, I tossed and turned in my new bed, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. The shadows in the corners of my room seemed to writhe and dance, and just as I was drifting off, I could have sworn I heard a faint whisper. "Never left. Never left." Days passed, and the strange occurrences only intensified. Lights flickered without reason, objects moved when no one was looking, and always, there were the whispers. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Old wiring, drafty windows, an overactive imagination, fueled by stress and lack of sleep. But deep down, I knew something was wrong in this place. Emma seemed oblivious to it all, her demeanor unchanged, the same placid smile fixed on her face. But sometimes when she thought I wasn't looking, I'd catch a glimpse of something else. A flicker of fear in her eyes quickly masked, a tremor in her hands as she reached for a doorknob. One night, I woke to the sound of creaking floorboards. Heart pounding, I peered into the darkness of my room. There, silhouetted against the faint light from the window, stood Emma. But it wasn't Emma, not really. Her body was rigid, head cocked at an unnatural angle. And when she spoke, the voice that emerged was deep, guttural, and utterly inhuman. "She never left," the thing wearing Emma's face growled. "And now, neither will you." I scrambled back against the headboard. A scream lodged in my throat. Emma's body jerked and twitched, her movements spasmodic and wrong. Her eyes, when they met mine, were black and fathomless. "What are you?" I managed to choke out. A low, rumbling laugh filled the room. "I am the one who was here first, the one they tried to forget, the one who never left." With each word, the whispers I'd been hearing grew louder, a cacophony of voices all around me. I clapped my hands over my ears, but it did nothing to drown out the sound. The voices were inside my head now, a relentless assault of hisses and snarls. Emma's body lurched towards me, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. I scrambled off the bed, backing away until I hit the wall. The room seemed to pulse and warp around us, shadows stretching and twisting into impossible shapes. "Please," I begged, though I wasn't sure who or what I was pleading with. "Let her go. Let us go." The thing wearing Emma's face tilted its head, a cruel smile twisting her features. "Oh, but we're just getting started," it purred. "You see, I've been so lonely here. And now I have not one, but two new friends to play with." Emma's body convulsed, her back arching at an impossible angle. A scream tore from her throat, but it wasn't her voice. It was a chorus of agonized wails, as if 1,000 tortured souls were crying out at once. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying for this nightmare to end. When I opened them again, Emma was crumpled on the floor, motionless. The oppressive atmosphere in the room had lifted, and the whispers had faded to a barely audible murmur. Cautiously, I approached her still form. "Emma," I whispered, reaching out a trembling hand. Her eyes snapped open, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of recognition, of fear. Then it was gone, replaced by that same placid smile I'd come to dread. "Oh, Sarah," she said, her voice back to its usual flat tone. "Did I wake you?" I must have been sleepwalking again. I helped her to her feet, my mind reeling. As I watched her shuffle back to her room, I knew with sickening certainty that this was far from over. Whatever had taken hold of Emma was still there, lurking just beneath the surface. In the days that followed, I tried to convince myself it had all been a terrible dream. But the whispers continued, growing louder and more insistent with each passing night. I caught Emma standing motionless in odd corners of the apartment, staring at nothing. Sometimes, when I looked at her too quickly, I could have sworn I saw something else looking back at me through her eyes. I knew I should leave, run as far and as fast as I could from this cursed place. But something held me back. Guilt, perhaps, at the thought of abandoning Emma to whatever fate had befallen her. Or maybe it was simply that the entity, whatever it was, had already sunk its claws too deep into my psyche. 1 week after the terrifying night, I found myself standing in the middle of the living room, unsure of how I'd gotten there. The whispers had reached a fever pitch, a constant barrage of unintelligible words that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Emma emerged from her room, that eerie smile still plastered on her face. But as she approached me, her movements became more fluid, more predatory. Her eyes, when they met mine, were once again black and bottomless. "You should have run while you had the chance," the thing wearing Emma's face said, its voice a low, menacing growl. "Now you're ours." Forever, as the entity closed in, the room around us began to warp and twist. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. I felt a presence behind me, cold and ancient and utterly malevolent. In that moment, I realized the terrible truth. The entity hadn't just possessed Emma. It had been here all along, waiting, watching. And now, it had 2 new vessels to inhabit. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Instead, I heard my own voice, distorted and wrong, whisper, "We never left. And now, neither will you." The darkness closed in, and I felt myself slipping away, consumed by the malevolent force that had claimed this place as its own. My last coherent thought was a silent apology to whoever might come after us, unknowingly stepping into this nightmare. As consciousness faded, I heard a knock at the door. A new tenant, perhaps, come to view the suddenly vacant apartment. And deep within me, in a place that was no longer entirely my own, I felt the entity stir with anticipation. The cycle would begin anew. After all, we never left. And now, neither would they.